Love is not proof of your worth. It's a reflection of your discipline. We live in a world that worships emotion but neglects endurance. We crave to be chosen, adored, validated, but few ask, am I someone worth choosing? We want a love that fills us, not realizing that love was never meant to be a substitute for self-mastery. Love was never meant to complete you. It was meant to reveal what's missing within you. That's why so many chase affection like beggars, hoping someone else's attention will silence the noise within. But here's the truth. If you're empty, no one's love will ever be enough. You'll drain them trying to fill a wound only discipline can heal. Because love without self-control becomes dependency. It's hunger dressed as devotion. There's a reason divine order always begins with self. Rule your spirit, it says, for it is greater than taking a city. Mastering your emotions, your impulses, your habits, that's where real power lives. You don't need another person to make you whole. You need to stop running from yourself. You need to meet your reflection and confront the places where you've settled for weakness disguised as passion. The world will tell you to follow your heart. But the heart, when undisciplined, is a wild thing. It will lead you into deserts of confusion and call it romance. The disciplined soul, though, it knows love is not just a feeling, it's a practice. It's the daily act of showing up when the excitement fades. It's patience when anger tempts you. It's forgiveness when pride wants revenge. It's commitment when convenience whispers to quit. Discipline sustains what emotion starts. You can't pray for divine love and then live with human inconsistency. Love requires the structure of character, boundaries, patience, humility. It requires a decision stronger than your mood. Because real love isn't a spark. It's a fire you tend, day after day, with faithfulness. Think about it. Creation itself runs on discipline. The sun rises at the same hour, the tide obeys its rhythm, the stars hold their place without complaint. Everything divine operates in order. So why do we think our relationships can thrive in chaos? Why do we confuse emotional noise with spiritual connection? Passion may ignite love, but only discipline will preserve it. And this isn't about perfection. It's about intention. It's about realizing that love is sacred, and sacred things require stewardship. When you're disciplined in love, you stop blaming others for what you never learned to build within yourself. You stop saying, they didn't love me right, and start asking, did I love myself wisely? You start seeing that heartbreak isn't punishment, it's instruction. It's life teaching you to refine your capacity, to love with strength, not desperation. There's a holy kind of strength and restraint, the kind that doesn't react, doesn't rush, doesn't crumble when affection feels distant. Discipline teaches you to stay grounded when emotions try to pull you into storms. It makes you reliable in a world built on convenience. It keeps you steady when others waver. The undisciplined heart says, I love you because you make me feel something. The disciplined heart says, I love you because I've chosen to honor this bond, even when I feel nothing. One fades when the thrill ends. The other deepens into covenant. That's why the divine doesn't give eternal love to those ruled by temporary feelings. Love is too sacred to live in a vessel that lacks order. The divine will test your patience, your self-control, your faith, not to destroy you, but to make you capable of holding something eternal. And maybe that's what you're feeling now. That quiet ache, that call to grow beyond the patterns that keep sabotaging your peace. Maybe life has stripped away certain people, not because they were evil, but because your discipline wasn't ready to sustain that level of love. Sometimes the divine withholds what you want most until you become the kind of person who won't waste it. So hear this with clarity. Stop chasing proof of your worth through other people's love. Start becoming the kind of soul that love naturally recognizes. Build the structure before you ask for the blessing. Because when discipline aligns with desire, you won't have to chase love. Love will find order and call it home. And when it does, it will not feel like a storm, but like sunrise, consistent, calm, unstoppable. Because love is not proof of your worth. It is the reflection of how much you've mastered the art of staying true, even when no one is watching. Most people don't fall out of love, they fall out of respect. That's the quiet truth no one wants to face. We think hearts break because feelings fade. But feelings are fragile things. They come and go like wind. What truly kills love is the slow erosion of honor. The moment you start to speak carelessly, listen half-heartedly, or take the other for granted, the foundation begins to crack. Not because the affection is gone, but because the reverence is. Respect is love's root system. Without it, nothing survives. You can shower someone with affection, whisper 1,000 promises, and still destroy what you claim to cherish if your actions strip away dignity. The divine order of love was never built on emotion alone. It was built on reverence. Reverence for the soul beside you. Reverence for the covenant you spoke into existence. Reverence for the silent responsibility that love demands. There's a holy rhythm in relationships when respect is alive. Words become careful. Time becomes intentional. Even correction becomes sacred. You start to guard your partner's heart the way you guard your own. But when respect fades, everything becomes casual. Tone, touch, truth. You stop speaking with care. You stop showing up with consistency. You stop protecting what you prayed for. And yet, we act surprised when the flame dies. But the fire didn't die. You smothered it with carelessness. The heart doesn't just go cold overnight. It cools one unkind word at a time. One broken promise. One moment of indifference when you were needed most. The wise have always known. Love without respect is chaos. Passion without discipline becomes destruction. You cannot claim to love someone you no longer honor, because love without reverence turns self-centered. It seeks pleasure, not purpose. It consumes rather than cultivates. Think of how creation itself moves in honor. The sea does not cross its boundary. The stars do not abandon their posts. Even nature bows to order. But humans, we rebel against the very structure that keeps love alive. We trade respect for convenience, depth for distraction, covenant for comfort. And then we wonder why we feel empty while surrounded by people. The truth is, respect doesn't leave all at once. It fades through neglect. The moment you stop being grateful, you start becoming careless. Gratitude is the soil where respect grows. When you forget the value of what you have, you start mishandling it. That's how love dies, not from storms, but from slow erosion. But if you listen closely, the divine voice still whispers, "Honor what I've given you." You prayed for this person. You asked for this bond. And yet, when routine sets in, you treat it as ordinary. But there is nothing ordinary about love that survives the test of time. There is nothing casual about connection that holds through storms. Respect revives love because it brings order back to chaos. It reminds you that this person is not yours to own. They are yours to serve, to protect, to cherish. Respect keeps love sacred. It makes you humble. It silences your ego and teaches your heart to listen again. It is impossible to truly love and still dishonor, because real love is always rooted in humility. You can't curse someone and claim to care for them. You can't ignore someone's pain and call it patience. You can't betray their trust and call it human error. Love doesn't survive in dishonor. It suffocates. That's why so many relationships fail. Not because they ran out of emotion, but because they ran out of integrity. And maybe that's where you are right now, wondering why the warmth is gone, why the laughter feels distant. Maybe it's not love that's missing. Maybe it's the respect you stopped giving, or the reverence you stopped demanding. Maybe love didn't die, it just couldn't breathe in the atmosphere of your neglect. So hear this truth. When you, Lose respect, you lose the ability to see the divine in another person. You start to see flaws instead of grace. You start counting offenses instead of blessings. And once your eyes turn from reverence to resentment, your heart follows. That's why the call today is not to fall in love again, but to rise in respect again. Rebuild the foundation. Speak life again. Listen with full attention. Honor what you once took lightly. Because love is not sustained by feelings. It's sustained by the discipline of reverence. The kind that says, I see you not just as mine, but as sacred. And when that kind of respect returns, the flame doesn't just reignite, it burns steadier, purer, stronger, because love built on honor doesn't fade. It matures, it deepens, it becomes something divine, because love never truly dies. It only withers where respect no longer waters it. The person who controls their emotions controls the relationship. That sentence alone carries the weight of a lifetime of truth. Because every connection, every covenant, every love you will ever touch will rise or fall on your ability to master yourself. Not the other person, not their behavior, not their mood. Yourself. See, most people think relationships are destroyed by incompatibility. No, they're destroyed by reaction. One emotional explosion at a time. One word said in anger that can't be unsaid. One silent withdrawal that grows into distance. It's not the fight that ends things. It's the lack of discipline within the fight. Emotion is a gift, but it's also a test. And the divine gives you emotion not to rule you, but to reveal you. How you handle the storms of your own heart determines whether you can truly hold another person's. Because love requires stability, not perfection. And stability can only exist where self-control reigns. There's a reason wisdom says, a person without control over their spirit is like a city broken down. Without walls. Think about that. Without walls. Exposed, vulnerable, easily invaded. Every time you react without restraint, you lower your walls and invite chaos in. You hand your peace over to someone else's behavior. You let their energy dictate your destiny. And that is not love. That is slavery. To control your emotions doesn't mean to be cold or detached. It means you've learned the holy art of stillness in the storm. It means when your feelings rise like a wave, you don't drown in them. You ride them with grace. It means when you're provoked, you pause. When you're tempted to lash out, you breathe. When you're misunderstood, you don't defend your ego. You guard your peace. The mature soul knows that power is not in reacting quickly but in responding wisely. Because silence, when guided by purpose, is louder than any argument. Calmness, when fueled by discernment, is stronger than any rage. The one who stays composed stays in control. This is what the divine has been trying to teach you all along. That love is not sustained by passion, but by wisdom. That your emotions are servants, not masters. They are signals, not dictators. And when you allow them to rule unchecked, you turn your relationships into battlegrounds for your own inner turmoil. You start projecting your unhealed pain onto someone who was sent to love you, not fight you. And maybe that's what's been happening in your life. You keep praying for peace, but peace cannot enter where self-control has not been built. You keep asking for love that lasts, but love cannot survive where emotion keeps wounding the walls it lives in. The divine can't bless what you keep breaking with your own reactions. There's power in restraint, not weakness. The world will tell you to speak your mind, but wisdom whispers, guard your tongue. The world will say, don't let them disrespect you. But truth says, don't let them control you. Because every time you lose control, you trade authority for impulse. You let the lesser version of yourself take the lead. And every time you do that, you push love a little further away. Real strength isn't in domination. It's in composure. It's the quiet confidence that says, you can't shake me because I'm rooted deeper than emotion. It's when you no longer need to win arguments because peace has become your priority. It's when you no longer seek to be right because you've chosen to be wise. Think about it. Every great storm eventually passes, but the tree that survives is the one with roots deep enough not to sway with every gust. That's what emotional mastery does. It roots you. It anchors you in divine order so that no argument, no betrayal, no disappointment can uproot your peace. So, if you want to change your relationships, start here. Master your response. Stop feeding every fire with your words. Stop letting temporary anger destroy eternal bonds. Stop letting momentary emotion decide your permanent direction. Because the one who controls their emotions controls the atmosphere in their home, in their heart, in their destiny. And maybe the divine has allowed certain people to test your peace, not to punish you, but to train you. To teach you that control isn't about suppression, it's about transformation. Every time you choose patience over pride, you grow stronger. Every time you choose peace over pettiness, you step closer to divine maturity. Every time you choose silence over shouting, you become a vessel fit for something greater. So when emotion rises like thunder in your chest, remember, you are not your reaction. You are the gatekeeper of your peace. You are the guardian of your spirit. And the one who can stand still while the world shakes, that one is unshakable. Because in the end, the person who controls their emotions doesn't just control the relationship. They command the atmosphere where love, respect, and divine order can finally dwell. Attachment is not love. It's disguised fear. Most people can't tell the difference. They think the trembling in their chest when someone leaves is proof of love. They think the ache of jealousy, the anxiety of not being chosen, the obsession with being needed, that all of it is love. But that's not love. That's fear wearing perfume. Fear of being alone. Fear of being unseen. Fear that without their presence, you'll lose your value. Love doesn't chain you. Fear does. Love expands your spirit. Fear compresses it. Love gives, fear clings. Love trusts, fear demands. And the tragedy is, so many people spend their whole lives calling fear by love's name. They mistake attachment for connection, obsession for devotion, and control for care. But the truth is, if your love needs to own, it has already lost its purity. The divine never called us to worship another human being. The divine called us to love, and love, in its highest form, is freedom. It's the ability to hold someone close without crushing them, to walk beside them without binding them, to bless them even when they walk away. Attachment says, "Don't leave me. I can't live without you." Love says, "Even if you go, I will still wish you peace." Attachment is the cry of the insecure soul, the one that has not yet remembered its wholeness. It seeks safety in others because it has not yet found safety in itself. It mistakes presence for identity. It needs constant proof, a message, a touch, a reassurance, because deep down it fears it is not enough. But love, true love, is born from abundance, not lack. It doesn't need to grasp because it trusts the divine order of timing and connection. When you are attached, you live in survival. Every silence feels like rejection. Every delay feels like abandonment. You overthink, overreach, overgive because you're trying to earn what was never meant to be bought. But when you are rooted in divine love, you move differently. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer beg, you bless. You no longer panic when things shift. You rest, knowing what is aligned cannot be taken. Think about it. The sun does not chase the moon. The tree does not beg the rain. The flower does not cling to the bee that leaves. Everything in divine creation knows when to release. And yet humans, in our forgetfulness, hold tighter the moment we're meant to let go. We confuse endurance with bondage. We confuse loyalty with fear. But love is not proven by how tightly you hold. It's proven by how freely you trust. The divine will often test you in this. It will allow certain people to walk away not because they are unworthy, but because you are being trained to detach from fear. You're being taught to find peace in uncertainty, to realize that your completeness was never in another person. It was always in the one who breathed life into you. When attachment rules, your spirit becomes restless. You lose yourself trying to hold someone else. You start shrinking, apologizing for your needs, dimming your light so they won't leave. But that's not love, that's bondage. Real love awakens, it doesn't suffocate. It empowers both souls to grow, not to depend. And maybe that's the lesson your life is teaching you right now. To release what you once clung to. To let go, not in bitterness, but in reverence. Because release is not loss, it's trust. It's you saying, I believe in divine timing more than my own attachment. It's choosing to open your hands and watch how the universe fills what fear tried to hoard. Understand this. The love meant for you will never require you to compromise your peace. It won't demand you shrink, chase, or beg. It will feel like breathing, not gasping. It will honor your freedom because it flows from the same source that set you free. So don't confuse letting go with failure. It takes far more faith to release than to cling. The hands that can let go are the ones strong enough to receive again. Love asks for surrender, not control. It's not about holding tighter. It's about trusting deeper. And when you finally release what was never meant to imprison you, something powerful happens. Peace returns. Joy begins to whisper again. And the emptiness that fear once filled becomes space for something divine to move. So, yes, attachment will break you until you learn what love really is. And once you learn, you'll never settle for bondage again. You'll love deeply, but never desperately. You'll care fully, but never fearfully. Because you'll know that true love doesn't need to hold on to survive. It simply is. Because the moment you let go of fear, you discover that love never needed to be held. It only needed to be trusted. The strongest relationships are built by two people who could walk away, but choose not to. That line sounds simple, but it carries the whole weight of truth, the kind that divides what is emotional from what is eternal. Because love that survives is not chained by need. It's anchored by choice. It's not born of weakness or fear of being alone. It's forged in the fire of two souls who have learned freedom, and still, in their freedom, choose devotion. The divine never wanted love to be a prison. Love was never meant to be the cage where two people lose themselves trying to keep each other close. No, love is supposed to be a temple, a sacred place built by two hearts that know they could live without one another, yet understand that together they can reflect something far greater than themselves. Dependence is easy. It's the default for the soul that hasn't yet discovered its own worth. But covenant, real love, that's a decision made with full awareness. It's the strength of standing at the door every day, knowing you could walk out yet staying because you believe in what's being built. That's what gives love its holiness. Not the fact that it lasts, but that it is chosen again and again. Most people don't know the difference between attachment and choice. They think endurance is proof of love. But endurance without understanding is just fear in disguise. Staying because you're afraid to be alone is not loyalty. It's bondage. True loyalty only exists where freedom first existed. The divine doesn't force you to stay. It teaches you to choose. That's what makes it sacred. When two people walk in that kind of strength, when both are whole, when both could leave but decide not to, that's when love mirrors heaven. Because love, born from freedom, carries power. It's not desperate. It's not fragile. It's grounded, calm, confident. It doesn't need to grasp, control, or convince. It knows what it is, and that's why it endures. Think about it. Even the divine doesn't demand your love. It invites it. It gives you choice. And only in that freedom can devotion have meaning. Forced affection is not love. It's slavery. But chosen commitment, that's divine partnership. It's the reflection of something eternal. In every sacred bond, there comes a testing point, a moment where you could walk away. The tension rises. The misunderstanding cuts deep. The silence lingers too long. And in that space, the divine doesn't look at what you feel. It looks at what you choose. Because love that is only as strong as your mood will never survive the seasons of your calling. But when you choose to stay, not because you have to, but because you want to, that's where the transformation happens. You stop seeing the other person as your source and start seeing them as your reflection. You begin to understand that love isn't about completion. It's about alignment. It's not about losing yourself. It's about finding the rhythm of two souls walking in step with divine purpose. And make no mistake, that kind of love isn't always soft. It's not always comfortable. Sometimes it refines you. Sometimes it confronts the parts of you that are still selfish, still impatient, still afraid. But that's what makes it real. It grows you, stretches you, sanctifies you. It teaches you to forgive, to listen, to see beyond yourself. The beauty of this truth is that both people are free, and yet they choose the bond. Every day they wake up and say, I could leave, but I won't. That's strength. That's not dependency, that's devotion. Because love without freedom is fear. But freedom without love is emptiness. Only when the two meet does something sacred emerge. A union that carries both passion and peace, fire and stability, desire and destiny. And maybe that's what your spirit has been craving. Not the kind of love that traps you, but the kind that calls you higher. The kind that says, you are free to go, but I hope you stay. The kind that doesn't bind, but blesses. The kind that doesn't demand, but inspires. Because when you love from freedom, you stop grasping at people to fill your emptiness and start sharing your wholeness. So look closely at your relationships. Ask yourself, am I staying out of fear, or am I staying out of faith? Am I holding on because I'm afraid to lose, or because I'm ready to build? Because love that's afraid to lose has already lost its peace. But love that chooses to stay, fully aware of its freedom, that love carries eternity in it. Because the strongest love doesn't say, I can't live without you. It says, I could, but I don't want to. It's not weakness that keeps it, it's wisdom. It's not desperation that fuels it, it's devotion. Because real love is not proven by who holds tighter, but by who keeps choosing. Freely, faithfully, fearlessly, even when walking away would be easier.